right, good evening. This is the meeting of the Mashpee Planning Board, Wednesday, October 6th, 2021, in the Wacoit Meeting Room, Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road North, Mashpee, Massachusetts, 02649. It is 7 o'clock. We are broadcast live on local channel 18, streamed live on the Town of Mashpee website, www.mashpeema.gov/channel-18. I would call the meeting to order and ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First on the agenda, hi Rob. Approval of the meeting minutes from September 14th.
I had two additions, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mary.
Just under present, if you could put after my name, I participated, it was by remote participation. And then on page 5, right at the bottom between Mr. Lair and Eliza Cox, just if you could note that the chair formally seated Rob Hanson to sit on this matter. And that was it.
I also would like to note, I made it Wednesday, it's actually, the meeting was Tuesday, so I will fix that.
I didn't even catch that.
Oh,
Wow.
good
See? Well, we got you here.
catch.
Perfect.
Good for you. All right, any other changes? Contingent on those changes, do we have approval?
Yeah, make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Okay. Public discussion, we have Lynn Barbie. No, for the hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. That's okay. No one, anyone want to make public comment not part of public hearing? Okay. What do we do for the next 5 minutes? Let's move to,
Will not required,
yeah, good.
is the applicant here?
A&R Mark and Donna Lopez, 103 Meeting House Road. Lot consists of 279,933 plus or minus square feet upland area located on the west side of Meeting House Road and east of the Mashpee River. Purpose of the A&R is to create 2 building lots with frontage on an ancient way.
I had thought the applicant would be here tonight, but they're not, so I can give you a rundown as I understand the plan. Just by way of background, if you recall, about 2 years ago or so, the applicant submitted a preliminary plan for a cluster subdivision to create 2 building lots. That submission was contingent upon a land swap between the Town of Mashpee Conservation Commission and the property owner. As you'll see on the plan, the subject property itself has its frontage on Meeting House Road with a large swath of open space that was purchased by the town using grant monies a number of years ago. So the applicant proposed swapping riverfront area in an equal swap with the area towards Meeting House Road. When notice of their definitive filing, the abutters, that would be, I think, the trustees and maybe the Town Conservation Commission, maybe U.S. Fish and Wildlife as well, said, you know, because you purchased this open space with grant money, we don't want to see a swap. We want it to stay open space as was intended by those grant funds. And the swap itself required support of the Mass Legislature. So without the cooperation of the abutters, the legislature did not take action on the land swap, which was a requirement due to the manner in which the town acquired the open space.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah.
So and again, that swap was supported by the Conservation Commission, but not by the abutters. And so the applicant has owned this property and his family for a number of years and generations. It's shown on an ancient way. This is a roadway, unnamed, without, that is not 20 feet in width, that is not constructed to subdivision standard. This is a 10-foot wide dirt road, compacted and maintained and utilized daily by the property owners for the number of houses on the lot. So similar to what we did with Oyster Way, the request is for the board to make a finding that the ancient way, which is a public way, it's shown on a town clerk map from 1986 as a public way. They're asking the board to find that the way is adequate for access to abutting, as a principal means of adequate access to abutting property for the specific purpose of taking the large parcel shown on the plan and subdividing it into 2 lots for the purposes of obtaining a building permit. The building permit is contingent, again, because again, you're not making a finding as to compliance with zoning. You're making a determination as to the frontage and the adequacy of the way. And so for a building permit in this particular scenario, the applicant needs frontage on a street. Frontage on a street, the definition of street requires that it be, a subdivision roadway approved by the planning board, a way laid out by the selectmen, accepted by the town as an easement taking, or as a way approved by the planning board as a principal means of adequate access to abutting property. So they're seeking that finding for compliance with that provision of the street definition to get a building permit. So again, for A&Rs to approve on an ancient way that is not conforming to subdivision standard, you are assessing whether or not A, it's public. We do have the map on record of the nature of the public way, but also that it's of suitable width, grade, and construction for vehicular traffic to pass. I have been on the site. It is maintained and utilized every day. It is in reasonable condition. I'd say it's in good condition, and it's certainly passable. It's well graded and compacted, but it is at your discretion to make that finding, and that is the request before you. So you'll see the 1 lot carved into 2, each with 150 feet of frontage minimum on that ancient way.
So lot 2,
Has a home on it.
I think Lot 1 has a home.
Lot 1, excuse me. Lot
Right.
1 has a home, and then Lot 2 is the one here.
and the people that live in this home on lot 1, they don't use lot 2 to get to their home.
No.
Okay, they use the ancient way.
Yes.
Okay,
The purposes for the swap in this manner, when they sold this piece to the Conservation Commission, was that they had to maintain adequate frontage on Meeting House Road, which is why the lot was laid out with the 150 feet
I
for
remember
frontage here.
that, yeah.
So it kept that sliver, like 20-foot wide sliver with 150 feet, as to maintain compliance with the zoning bylaw and allow the Conservation Commission to acquire the parcel.
Got it.
No problem.
I have no problem with it.
Second motion approval not required.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you.
Do we have to
I
sign?
do have the Mylar tonight, if I can get you guys to sign.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary.
You don't have to sign it, just one.
Just one needed, but there's a signature
Oh.
block, there's a signature block for everybody if you want to practice your John Hancock there, Dennis.
Carpal tunnel.
John, we definitely need you.
All right, I'll sign it.
Go ahead and sign it, Joe, go ahead. Might as well fill it up. It looks weird.
We're all here.
Yeah, I know.
Bad. But it was a good try, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember always being like, I think the plant. Anyway, done.
Okay, it is 7:10. You know what, I'm just going to remove this while I read these. That's okay. Keep your distance. Public hearing is open. Hold on a minute, I'll get my notes. Mashpee Planning Board Public Hearing Notice, broadcast live on local cable channel 18, streamed live on the Town of Mashpee website, mashpee.ma.gov/channel-18. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Mashpee Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 6th at 7:10 from the Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road North, in the Wacoit Meeting Room to review the following zoning articles proposed for action at the October 18, 2021 town meeting. Okay, I'm going to take these out of order. I'm going to go with, the first is to add a new section 174-45.7, solar energy systems to the Mashpee zoning bylaws. This section promotes the creation of new small, medium, and large-scale ground-mounted solar energy systems within a new proposed solar energy systems overlay district on specific parcels within the R5 and C2 zoning districts by providing standards for the placement, design, construction, operation, monitoring, modification, and removal of such installations that address public safety, minimize impacts on scenic, natural, and historic resources, and for providing adequate financial assurance for the eventual decommissioning of such installations. This new section would provide the standards of review that the planning board as special permit granting authority would utilize to scrutinize any applications submitted for the development of medium and large-scale solar energy systems within the proposed Solar Energy Systems Overlay District. This article was submitted by petition. Board comments?
So this is, we have several by petition, right?
Correct.
And you're reading the one that's to amend 174-5?
174-45.
45.
To create, once
Right.
that's a new section.
Right,
Mind if I-
please.
The purpose for, I think, taking this article first before the other articles submitted by petition is because this is the primary article, and if the recommendation is one way or the other articles are, really would need to be approved to make this article function. So it makes sense to review and discuss the merits of this article so that, for the other articles, it'd be pretty clear which way you would need to go. Because the other articles, again, are just administrative articles to make sure that this proposal is functional within the zoning bylaw text itself.
I probably should have said that. Thank you.
So this article's brought by a private person that got enough signatures to put it as a petition.
Yes.
So I've kind of read it. I don't see the town getting any benefits from this. Like when Falmouth did theirs, and I think it was Barn and Sandwich, they got 3 acres, Falmouth got like 3 acres of conservation land that was deeded. I mean, we're not getting anything from this developer, not even some of the electricity to help. I'd like to make sure we look at that a little better, We should be getting something from it.
I do know that in the adjacent towns, they do contemplate the end of the useful life of the panels and what happens to the parcel. I'd say that the article submitted is silent on kind of what happens to the parcel at the end of the life of the panels. In terms of public benefit, there was recent amendments I think from the Department of Revenue, which allows the developers of solar to enter into more lucrative payments in lieu of taxes structures for the town. I think in conversations with the assessor relative to solar panels, they're very difficult to assess taxes for because there's really not much in terms of structure there to assess taxes on. So the new regulations relative to pilots are more advantageous to the town. But yeah, noted your comment about what happens to the parcel at the end of the useful life of the panels.
I mean, I'm all for the solar, that's a great idea, but I'd like to see the town, my thought was have them give us an acre of land, we could put some affordable housing on it. That'd be a nice thing, because this is a new zone article, and it's gonna have, they're the ones that put it forward.
Yeah.
So I think that when, we gotta, I feel like we should get something more than just doing this zoning article. That's all I have to say.
I want to, this has been before us in different forms before. So I kind of want to reserve my comments till after public comment,
Okay.
if you don't mind, Mr. Chair.
Joe, anything?
None right now.
Rob,
Not at this time, thank you.
public comment on this zoning article?
Yes, good evening. Mr. Chairman, my name is Robert Mills. I
Hi, Ron.
represent the proponent of the articles, NextGrid, who is here with me this evening, Daniel Serber,
I'm
who's the...
sorry, it's their signature on the, it's their 10 signatures on it?
They are not the signatories, no.
Okay,
They are, however, they would be the ones that would develop, own, and benefit from the zoning articles being passed.
and I'm sorry, just to be clear, you're
Yeah.
representing somebody who might buy the parcel, but you're not representing the 10 citizens who signed the article?
Well, being a citizen myself, I suppose I represent,
Oh, are you one of the signatories, or?
I am not, but I represent, I am the person that submitted the article and gathered the signatures.
Is anybody, if any of the 10 signers here tonight?
I don't believe so.
Okay, all
Yep.
right. But you
Yep.
don't represent them?
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't,
And I think they are unrepresented.
thank you.
Yep. So Daniel Serber is the Director of Land Development for NextGrid. I think he is prepared to answer a lot of the questions that you raised, Mr. Balzerini. And I'm here really to answer any questions relating to the zoning itself. It was aptly put, I think, by Evan, that really Article 28 is the meat of the 5 articles. There is a 6th article that really kind of is freestanding, that doesn't really relate to the Solar Energy Systems Overlay District, which in your book would be Article 23. So, Mr. Chairman, at some later date, if you want me to address that, I can certainly do that.
Thank you.
I'm prepared currently, though, however, to answer any questions relating to the Solar Energy Systems Overlay District warrant article. And if you don't have any questions for me specifically about the zoning aspects of it, the size of the parcel, and those kinds of things, I can turn it over to Mr. Serber, who can kind of answer some of the questions that perhaps Ms. Wagon has and that Dennis has.
Any questions for
Who made this?
Mr.
You?
Mills?
Okay.
So did anybody have any questions for
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mills before we move on? Go ahead,
Uh,
Ron.
I had a question. I saw this online, you submitted online with the notice. There's a number of building lots defined on the perimeter of the property, I understand. Are those building lots consumed now as building lots, or will they be consumed in the solar farm, let's say?
So there's one parcel on 151. There's several parcels on Algonquin Road,
Yeah.
and then some on the rear of a paper road. It's all going to be one parcel, one 40-acre parcel.
Okay, so no residential?
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
So, I just have a question.
Go ahead.
If, I'd like to see this pass, but are we gonna have another chance, get another bite? Does the solar company have to come back to us with a plan so we can get a bite at this and say, you know, what I asked? I'd like to see, to get something, you know,
John?
maybe that's Evan's question.
Just, Dennis, to your point, if these articles pass a town meeting, and if the zoning is activated, the petitioner, the petitioner's client, NextGrid, is going to be submitting an application for a special permit to this board. So make sure your comments or questions are relative to the zoning itself, and don't get into site-specific, project-specific issue areas, because yes, if this is approved, they're going to be back to the planning board for a special permit.
But I don't think there's anything in the zoning that would require a offset for open space. That would have to come from our zoning.
Right.
Okay.
You okay?
Or affordable housing offset.
Any questions for NextGrid?
I think they were going to make
I
a
think we'd like
presentation
to make,
first.
Oh,
Mr. Chairman,
go
if we
ahead.
could make a presentation. I think Mr.
Sure.
Serber's prepared to do
Please.
that.
How do you do? My name is Daniel Serber. I'm the Director of Land Development with NextGrid Inc. We're a renewable energy developer. We specialize in solar facilities and battery storage, and we mostly utilize disturbed land such as sand pits, landfills, parking lots, and rooftops. I'd say the bulk of our business is actually here on Cape Cod. We have a large completed sand pit project in Chatham. We have rooftop and parking lot projects in Yarmouth, Dennis, Hyannis, Brewster, and Provincetown. And we have fully permitted sand pit projects in Bourne, Brewster, and Harwich all for solar energy development. So we're currently in the process of purchasing this 40-acre site off of Route 141. It's known as 420 Nathan Ellis Highway. Our goal is if this passes and the special permit were to go through, we'd purchase the land and we'd be the sole owner going forward. And you touched on what is the town getting. So, this property, roughly from the 50s to the very early 2000s, was an active sand pit. It was stripped of all topsoil and used for sand and gravel mining over much of the site. We're proposing to add a use to the current zoning, allow us to have the ability to obtain a special permit to put solar on the site. And solar facilities can add a substantial amount of money to the tax base while having little or no impact on the surrounding community. So our solar facility, if it were to be developed, would have no increase in traffic. We'd have no new impervious surface, no impact on groundwater, no increased stress on the school district. We won't add increased stress to police, fire, or other town services. And the way we plan on developing the site, it won't be seen or heard by any of the abutters or surrounding residents. To ensure the project has no impact on abutters, we're committed to providing a minimum 50-foot natural wooded buffer with an additional row of evergreens, arborvitae or cypress behind the natural row of trees. So it'll create, impenetrable for the line of sight. We plan on placing inverters more than 1,000 feet from any residential structure, including ensuring the site will be completely silent. Under the panels, we would be planting New England pollinator mix, creating essentially a meadow of local flora and fauna. After construction, there will be an average of 3 vehicle trips a year total for maintenance. So we aren't just creating a low impact development, we're also trying to create value for the town of Mashpee. The way we'll do that, part of which Evan touched on, is to develop a pilot program, which is a payment in lieu of taxes. We're working that out within the confines of what the DOER, the state of Massachusetts, has put forward, which is a kind of a framework of how the pilot agreements are developed. Additionally, we're trying to find more ways of getting income to the town of Mashpee, and one of the things we will try to work out with the town is an agreement to eventually donate this parcel to the town with a reversion clause, so we would ultimately get the parcel back. But during that time, we can pay lease to the town for all 20 years of the estimated project life. With the pilot and the lease agreement we're proposing, it would be we can guarantee right now it'll be over $2 million to the town of Mashpee over the 20-year period. And in addition, the SMART program, the Massachusetts SMART program, which is the mechanism in which we sell power back to Eversource, allows for a community solar benefit. That community solar benefit will allow both the town of Mashpee itself and all the Mashpee residents to opt into this system and get approximately 2 cents per kilowatt hour off every kilowatt hour that they consume, which based on most residential rates and commercial municipal rates here in Mashpee would be approximately 10 to 15% total savings. So towns this size, and I know you guys are having plans to install wastewater treatment facilities, which is going to increase your power usage. Other towns, I haven't looked at this town's bills, but they've been able to save somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 a year on power based on opting into these programs. So we're talking about a substantial amount of both savings and income for the town of Mashpee without adding any hardship to the town. So again, no traffic, no impact to abutters, no impervious surface, no new nitrogen in the ground from septic or other sewer issues. So it's a low impact development with really little impact. And I'm here to answer any questions. If this isn't the best time to answer questions, or if anybody in the community has specific questions for me, we are planning a community information session. That'll be held on Saturday, October 16th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Mashpee Senior Center. We have set up an email address.
Wait, say that again. Okay. Community session on Saturday, October 16th.
From 9 to 11.
Okay.
At the Mashpee Senior Center. And we have set up an email address for questions and for more information about this. So you can email solarenergymashpee@gmail.com. That's exactly how it sounds. And I do look forward to hopefully working with the town of Mashpee and creating a project that will hopefully add a lot of benefit to the town. And I am here for specific questions.
Great, thank you.
I got one. The perimeter of the proposed area, will that have a security fence? Or will people be able to walk through there at will? And how is secure, if it's the security fence, can you explain the security aspects of, keeping people out that don't belong there?
Sure. So there'll be a natural wooded buffer of 50 feet, and then we'll have the line of arborvitae trees, and then we'll have a fence. The National Electric Code actually says we have to have a 7-foot grounded fence, and we leave 6 inches under the fence for for
Furry friends?
For our furry friends.
Yeah, our furry friends.
On these lots that are on the outside of it, I know that's like a sand pit, the main part of it, but those have a lot of trees on it. Are you gonna clear cut those trees? Because
Yeah, so again, we are gonna leave a natural wooded buffer on all sides. And then in between, we will cut the trees. But I do wanna remind the board, this is a C2 zone district, and there's a lot of as-of rights and special permit that would have a lot more impact that could just be done. So this isn't, allowing this isn't, or disallowing this wouldn't necessarily prevent the trees from being cut. They could just be cut on a different development, as this is private land.
Right, so are you gonna put some plants around it, like to hide the fence,
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
absolutely, yep. And then under it, again, we're gonna
Because
plant a New England pollinator mix, so it should be grasses and flowers, and the local
Because you said there's no
animals tend to-
environmental effects, but when you cut those trees down, this nitrogen comes out of the rain too. And if the trees kind of eat it up, when you cut them all down, they're just gonna go right into the water table. Or, the river that's over near there. But long as you're gonna put plants around it.
I had a quick question, just to make sure I heard you correctly. If the citizens of Mashpee buy back into that power program, did you say potentially you could save 10 to 15% per household?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow, just want to make sure I heard that right. Okay, that's great.
That's your benefit to the town. I said that's your benefit to the town.
Yeah.
And $2 million, roughly $2 million revenue over 20 years.
That's correct.
Where do you connect this to? I mean, you have to have another station?
No, so this is what they call a distribution system, so it connects into the distribution lines that are right there on Nathan Ellis. So the 3-phase line will come in there off of the highway, and our construction access will be there off of Algonquin.
Oh, all right.
Good, Mary.
So on page 10 of your presentation, it says the majority of this land is zoned R5.
So there's a line down the middle of north and south. On the north, by the highway, it's C2. On the south, it is R5. But I believe the whole thing would be, or everything that's not one of those residential parcels on the bottom could be developed as C2.
Do you mind if you can see, it's I would say it's the majority of the parcel is actually C2. It's
Okay.
bisected by the zoning district itself, and the I don't know, the southerly 25-30% of the parcel is R5.
And you were talking, and you said something about a payment in lieu of taxes.
Mhm.
What was that program?
So payment in lieu of taxes is an alternative to a normal tax that the town would enter into. So instead, they'd enter into a payment in lieu of taxes, which is a negotiated amount of money that we would pay the town instead of a normal tax. And the way this came about with solar is in the earlier days of solar in Massachusetts, they passed a law saying solar is not taxable. So sometimes towns were forced to only tax the fence or other minor upgrades. And so they went in, the DOER went in and mapped out how the towns could enter into these payments in lieu of taxes so they could get the full amount of benefit from a solar facility.
So on page 13, you have, based on preliminary numbers, Mashpee would receive approximately $2 million over the next 20 years. And is that from taxes?
So it'd be the payment in lieu of taxes plus the lease and buyback, or I'm sorry, the donation, land donation and then lease.
Now, do you have a copy of that agreement signed by the town?
No, we've been planning on entering into that with the town if this were to pass, but it's kind of hard to come up with an agreement with a zone.
Can you get a memorandum of agreement signed by the town?
We hope so, yes.
But you're not going to have that for town meeting?
No,
Okay, that's a big problem for me.
okay. I mean, sorry, I think, well, it's a great question, and I really, appreciate it being asked. And I can ask Evan, I hope that when this comes back for special permit, the board would have the authority to make that a condition.
No, not unless it's put in the zoning bylaw. It's not in the zoning bylaw, and we have no memorandum of agreement with you.
Okay.
And I'm happy you're interested in Mashpee. I'm not sure if this is the first time I've heard this company name associated with this parcel, these parcels. It's relatively new?
It's new to me.
Okay. All right, just making sure my memory isn't completely gone. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, so,
I just,
What are-
if I just wanted to
Please.
note that the article as presented or submitted by petition is essentially identical to the article that was submitted, a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago to the selectmen, where it was not an overlay district proposal. It proposed medium and large scale solar throughout all of the zoning districts on the premise that the town can't unreasonably regulate solar energy systems. And we do regulate solar energy systems. They're limited to the industrial districts by plan review. The vast majority of our industrial parcels are relatively small in size and really aren't big enough to sustain large-scale solar or commercial-scale solar. With one exception, there's one reasonable site, but there's nothing on it, no intentions on putting solar there. So when I had submitted the article, I was on the premise that we have an effective prohibition of the use and we might want to consider modifying it. But the selectmen at the time said, we don't want to put this on the warrant.
Right.
We want to slow down.
And then what happened after that?
And we met with council, said.
Council.
With council, and council said, you know what, we feel that the regulation, the town is reasonably regulating the use. So we feel confident that the town would be protected in terms of any challenges in regards to denying special permits outside of the confines of the zoning as it's currently in the books. And so actually, Mary and I met with members of selectmen and council and discussed these issues. And the takeaway from my perspective was we don't want to incentivize the development of solar energy systems on anywhere but disturbed parcels, parking lots, sand pits. And, that's why it was kind of removed from consideration. And then sometime thereafter, the property owner reached out to the planning board and said, we'd like to continue working with you. Would the planning board consider working with us to sponsor articles? To which the board's response was, you as property owner are empowered under the Zoning Act to submit articles for town meeting consideration, which is why, we're here today considering this proposal. And so the proposal is generally responsive to the feedback from the initial refusal of the selectmen to place the articles in the warrant, whereas it's isolated to singular parcels that are generally consistent with, a disturbed site. There's some growth on the site in terms of trees, but it is relatively new growth with a large amount of the parcel being completely sand. One caveat is, or the one difference is, all of the performance standards, design standards that we had gone through with Charlie before he had retired are exactly the same in this article. There's one exception and one change that I want to note to the board that was submitted by petition is the ability for the board in its special permit decision to set a unique lot coverage maximum Because again, in the C2 zoning district, the lot coverage maximum, I think, is 20%. So you could only put panels on 20% of the parcel. So what the change is saying, board, we might need to exceed or want to exceed 20% lot coverage to gain the maximum amount of benefit of solar access as is practicable. So they would ask, by way of the special permit process, for the board to set a unique condition in that decision to make the lot coverage 25%, or 30%, or 50%, or 100%, whatever it would be by way of that proposal. That's the one change that I wanted to note to the board, is that unique condition.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, yeah.
So you said that the owner brought back this proposed amendment to the zoning, but this is by citizen petition.
Yes.
Is the owner submitting these, or is it by citizen petition?
The petitioner,
The petitioners are
the
10,
well, the property owner was the primary petitioner, right? And got 10 signatories.
did they sign the petition?
Yeah,
Okay, with 9 other?
I would probably defer to council for that response.
So, because if it's submitted by the owner, it goes to the Board of, the Board of Selectmen for consideration to be put on the warrant.
Right.
If it's by citizen petition, it's by citizen petition. It goes on the warrant whether the Board of Selectmen don't have a say whether it goes on the warrant or not. So it's a very important distinction. It's not an article submitted by the owner. It's a citizen's petition article.
And he's likely one of the citizens who signed the petition.
At this point, these articles are on the warrant.
Yeah.
So
Right, by
I'm not sure
citizen
what the-
petition, so it hasn't been, because remember, last time, it went from the planning board to the Board of Selectmen, and
Yep.
the Board of Selectmen didn't put it on the warrant.
Right.
This also came back to the planning board, and we were not, I
Right.
remember the meeting, I said, go to the Board of Selectmen, don't come back to us. Go to the Board of Selectmen, convince them to put it on the warrant.
Right.
I don't know what happened there, but all of a sudden I'm seeing a citizen's petition.
So I think your memory is just a little different than mine, because I remember submitting the letter in response to the board's motion of the day, and it was merely to suggest that pursuant to the Massachusetts Zoning Act, a property owner is empowered to submit
Yeah.
articles to the selectmen. And so that was what was received.
And I don't know what happened then, after
Yeah.
that.
So again, that's the end of the process.
Except that
from my
now it's a
understanding.
citizen's petition. It's not a petition by the owner. Because a petition by the owner is allowed by Chapter 40A, Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, but that's not the avenue that it took, for right or wrong.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
not saying.
I understand what Mary's saying, yeah.
The other thing is, my takeaway from that meeting with town council, Jack Phelan was there, David Whedon was there, Andrew Gottlieb was there, was not that we wanted to target areas that were disturbed. That wasn't my takeaway. That wasn't my takeaway. But that was a while ago, and I don't have notes. But
I can't remember
So-
last week, so we're good.
I know.
So what's the next step on this?
Well, if you can seek additional comment, the board could have additional questions. If not, you can take a motion on the entirety of the articles after you've gone through them all, or you can do them individually, but you'll need to make sure you open up the floor to the public prior to making any recommendations.
Okay, so we've had public comment on this one. We've had
Not from the
board-
public.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You'll want to see if there's anyone else in the crowd who'd like to speak
Yep.
on the matter.
Yep, come on up.
How you doing? My name is Matthew Haney. I'm with Mez Realty. We're the direct abutters to this proposed overlay district. And I just want to give a little background so everybody understands this property. So Mez Realty actually used to lease a part of it for our well fields for Lakeside Estates. And so what happened was the Air Force polluted our wells, and then, we were on town water, so the wells are discontinued, the lease is over. So now the owners of the property can do whatever they want with the property, the lease is over. So I just want to point out a few things. I talked to all our residents and Lakeside Estates, and we support this thing 100%. And I'll explain to you why we support this thing. The property's going to be developed one way or the other. So the reason we prefer the solar overlay there is it's ground-based, there's no traffic, no pollution, no noise, there's this large vegetated buffer around it, and the town gets tax revenue. And I know there's this whole discussion about this, like, payment in lieu of taxes and all this other good stuff there, but I think there's one thing that people need to understand. The law changed. Because before, you know, it changed, I think it was like in June or something like that, because I actually was curious about this, and I called up Falmouth, and Falmouth told me, because they went through 3 exercises. So the law changed. The town can assess taxes on this property for the solar, so they can get a lot of tax revenue. Or they can do a payment in lieu of taxes, you know, the pilot program. So there's a lot of mechanism, but the other thing that Falmouth told me, which was really interesting, is you can't negotiate the payment in lieu of taxes till after the articles pass. So, and the negotiation actually has to take place with the assessing board. So I thought it was really interesting. I mean, you could call up the assessor there in Falmouth, because she told me the whole thing, because it's 3 scenarios are playing out right now. So anyways, as an abutter, as one probably the most directly impacted by this use, we 100% support it. It's the best use of the property. You know, I'm hoping the board supports it. And, you know, I think it's a very good use for the town, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
It's all right, I'll sit.
Please do.
Lynn Barbie, Surf Drive. I didn't catch the person who spoke before me where he lives, but I'm not an abutter, but I have family that lives in the old Barnstable area, and so when I saw that this was on the warrant, I went for a drive, because I was curious. I'm very pro-solar, generally speaking, but just the other day, I drove through the Lakeside development and down Algonquin, because I was following what was in the warrant. And I don't know out of the 40 acres how much has trees, but that's all that I saw was trees on one side of the street. The other side of the street were residences. And then when I saw that this had some R5 zoning, I thought we should be building housing here, not cutting down acres of trees to build a solar farm. I like solar farms. When Falmouth decided to do it on their golf course, I thought that was fine. But this area is really very forested. And so I'm wondering, was there an environmental impact at all about wildlife, or there's this pond that's there, what impact it might have on that? What impact it might have on the people who actually live across the street. I don't know if this gentleman is an abutter across the street or one of the commercial areas. But I thought, why don't we have housing? And then he just explained that he handed me his piece of paper talking about why it's better to go solar than housing, and I think that's wrong. I think we need housing, and this is a perfect place to put it, because it's right near 151. There is already housing there. There's a little community, and I would much rather see that area become some sort of housing than just cutting down trees and putting up a bunch of solar that, in general, I think is fine, but that's not the place for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Please.
Mike Ronhawk, 82 Sunset Circle. My question is on just for the overlay itself. Is it specific to only this property, or is there other properties involved in, like, going forward if someone else wants to do something somewhere? Does this affect that, or would they have a whole nother article to rezone? I mean, is this like a kind of a spot zoning, or?
So can I respond?
Please.
So the proposal is for a specific set of parcels. So there's one primary
That
piece that's like
one
35
piece.
acres or so, and then there's some surrounding smaller single-family lots around the edge. So it is specific to that collection of parcels. In terms of future amendments, the town could certainly modify the overlay district to be inclusive of other parcels. You know, probably after some planning work or whatever it may be. But it would require additional modification of the zoning and thus a warrant article and a town meeting vote, et cetera. To your question about spot zoning, spot zoning issues are generally worked out in the courts. And I think there are a number of things that the courts look to. But essentially, they look to first to the town meeting vote, whereas they are not interested in overturning, the home rule of the legislature essentially acting as town meeting. Additionally, they're going to look at the size of the district and what's allowed in the zoning district also, and if, that the removal or the benefit of one property owner supersedes the benefit of another. In this case, it's a large parcel, much larger than any other parcel in the C2 district itself. And due to the nature of the other parcel size, would never be able to develop small, medium, or large-scale solar energy systems. So I'm not a judge, and this isn't an appeal, but the courts are generally interested in upholding the decisions of town meeting as the legislative body of the town. And I don't think that a spot zoning case would be substantiated enough for a court to uphold it, but this is, I want to be clear, a collection of parcels under singular control.
Right.
Whether it's a spot zoning case or not I'm not 100% qualified to opine on, but I don't think it would be supported by the law.
But what about so is it specific that it's a large scale? And then there's also, are we going to have two different qualifications? One's a large scale, one's a small scale. So if someone else proposes, wants to do something, some of that's R5, right? Are they going to be allowed to do in another piece of land somewhere in town, it's R5, it's 2 acres or 1 acre or whatever? Are they going to be able, is this going to affect that, or?
So if you remember, a couple of years ago, the town meeting modified our solar energy regulations to allow for small-scale solar energy systems by right in all zoning districts.
So this doesn't affect that?
So like you at your house could do a ground-mounted solar installation, is inclusive of your roof. So everyone is still enabled by right to develop a small-scale energy system.
Okay,
but
so
when it
this
comes to
isn't-
medium and large-scale, commercial-scale systems, you couldn't do it anywhere else. With the
Okay, so
exception
this
of
isn't
here.
going to affect that?
No, it would not.
People's right on that side, okay.
Correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do it in industrial.
You can with plan review, yes.
Go ahead.
Good evening. There seems to be a lack of clarity about this parcel. Some people are saying it's a sand pit, and some people are saying that it's vegetated. It seems to be the intent of the town that they want to allow this only on previously disturbed parcels. So can somebody answer the question as to what percentage of this parcel is already disturbed?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so if you look at the parcel itself, the main bulk of the sand pit area that you can see that's currently sand, that makes up roughly a quarter of the site. And then if you look at the historic photos, there's 2 big circles that were historically part of the sand pit. If you look at the current satellite view, those look vegetated now, but if you go out to the site, they're really just covered in ivy over the sand. So previously disturbed altogether would be about 40% of the site. And then, but we are leaving, like I said, a good ring around the entire site as vegetated. So to say it's completely disturbed is not what we're trying to say, but a large portion of it has been, and it has historical, industrial use as a sand and gravel pit.
Could you give, if you can ask me a question?
Please.
A rough estimate of what you would leave in the ring if you say a quarter is disturbed now? Rough, I mean, I'm not for an exact number.
Right, it would be about 20% left, so, but we can look at the site plan and I can do some math and get you that number. But
Yeah, no, I'm just curious, rough.
John, if I can, I just want to remember, caution you guys against the site-specific considerations that would be reviewed pursuant to a special permit process.
Pardon me.
Whereas those technical aspects would be worked out and reviewed and scrutinized by the board if
Correct.
town meeting were to approve the article.
Got it.
But thanks for the answer.
Thank you.
Other question?
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the article?
You're not approving anything, you're
No.
making a recommendation to town meeting.
Okay.
Recommendation. Either we recommend it, approve it, not recommend it, or say, take no stand.
What do we want to do?
Any other public comment?
I don't see any.
So you can, again, you can move on to another article, or you can vote on each article as you go. That's really up to you guys.
I mean, I think we probably should vote on this one. 'cause this
Thank
is
you.
the- This is the
I
I
big
think so before
this
I
is
get
the big one.
confused.
So yes, you'd be looking for a motion to either recommend, not to recommend, or to take no action at town meeting.
I'd make a motion to not recommend approval by town meeting.
Second. Yeah, all of it.
Any discussion? I would recommend approval.
Mary's motion is to
Yeah,
not
so-
recommend.
Right.
So, yeah, you vote.
So.
So you
roll
want to call, all right.
Yes?
So yes to not recommend.
Joe?
No.
No.
Yes, not to recommend. So we're at a tie.
Yep. Okay.
You can entertain another motion.
Well,
Why wouldn't somebody
recommend
do a
another-
motion to
Well,
recommend?
Well, I will make a motion to take no action. Currently.
Is that a possibility?
Well, if we go,
Well, let me just say.
Yeah.
Okay, so the board just made a motion, or Mary made a motion not to recommend not to have town meeting approve the article.
And it didn't pass.
It did not pass, it was 2-2.
right.
so
I don't think a motion,
We're gonna
whether
go the
to
other
approve
way.
or not to
It's gonna
approve, would
happen.
have any different
Right.
outcome.
There's not going to be a
People are
difference.
I think
say-
it's a 2-2.
Yeah, but no, I think you should, people are gonna say, why didn't you take a motion? I would recommend, I make a motion to recommend that town meeting passes it.
Joe?
I will, well,
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, was there a second?
Oh,
Is
no,
there a
we need
second?
seconds. I second. No.
You second.
In favor?
I have taken no action, so, no.
You
And I
guys are-
say yes.
You guys are confusing me.
Wait.
The motion
I
is-
made a motion to recommend,
Right.
not that I'm
Dennis
gonna vote
approved.
for it.
Dennis
Dennis
seconded.
Okay, Dennis seconded it.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna do a roll call?
Yeah.
So I say no.
You're saying no to your own motion.
Motion? Wait, what? This is a first for me here.
Can I?
Absolutely, the
Yeah, I
motion.
can.
And generally, it is helpful for the motions to be made in the affirmative, because then people can vote no, and, the majority rules. So a motion to approve, Mary can certainly,
Yes.
No.
Okay. So neither, I'm sorry, I heard
So we're done.
somebody. So neither one passes.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Just for the record.
Just to cover the bases.
Just, neither one passes.
That was a first, though, I'll say that.
Okay.
Jack, where are you?
Barbados.
Barbados.
Okay, we're going to go to the next article. Let's go to the
Top now.
top, correct.
Okay, moving on.
To see if the town will vote to amend section 174-48.1 subsection B, Plan Review Committee. This warrant article would add the newly appointed town engineer and any successors to that position as a member of the Plan Review Committee, whose duties are to advise the building inspector, Board of Selectmen, Planning Board, and Board of Appeals on matters related to the areas of expertise of its members, and to provide informal advice and review to prospective applicants for permits. Board,
Just to make clear, this is not relative to the solar energy overlay system, solar
Correct.
energy systems overlay.
correct.
This was recommended when Chris Gallagher, the new town engineer, was hired and didn't have a seat at the table of plan review because it's defined in the zoning, and at the time that article was written, we didn't have a town engineer. So the request is to modify the zoning merely to be inclusive of the town engineer.
No problem with it.
I have a,
Anybody else?
I have a question.
oh, go ahead.
No,
you go.
ladies first.
All right, so who put this on the warrant? Was it the Board of Selectmen?
So this was discussed at a plan review meeting,
Okay.
and the town manager discussed with the Board of Selectmen, who asked me to write an article for the Board of Selectmen, and the Selectmen placed the article on the warrant.
And there's some other related warrant articles on this, right?
There are.
There are, okay. Because that's the code, the town code has to be, well, the bylaw and the zoning bylaw needs a change, right? Something.
Which article?
To have this engineer be appointed to plan review, it's in the zoning bylaw, but it's also in just the town bylaw.
Actually, the makeup of the plan review committee is completely defined within the zoning bylaw.
Okay, all right, excuse me. All right, good.
Anything else, Joe?
Maybe a foolish question, but, so that means we can get him on the board, what about our other engineer?
So, okay, so this is not the planning board. Plan review
Oh, for
meets
plan
congruently
review.
with.
Oh, sorry.
Right after
Yeah,
design review.
Yes, you have a plan
Town
review.
manager, conservation agent, myself, Board of Health.
Sorry.
Essentially department heads to deal with code compliance related issues.
Got it.
We do not have the town engineer. Now, the town manager can opt to not sit on the committee and place a designee, but he likes to sit on the committee, and this is the way to formally recognize the town engineers, the added value of his expertise on the plan review committee. So all this article is proposing to do is add the words town engineer with all the other titles in the article.
Perfect sense.
Anything else? Public comment on this one?
No?
No.
No engineers?
Motion to recommend?
I make a motion to recommend town meeting approve this article.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good. That was easy.
Want to do it backwards and see?
Okay, to amend 174-31 land space requirements table by adding new special footnote. This article would create a special exemption in the land space requirements table specifically for solar carports. This exemption would allow lot coverage to exceed 20% solely for this use in approved parking areas. Currently, the town is limited in its ability to utilize approved or proposed parking lots for solar energy systems, roof-mounted panels on a carport structure, primarily due to the manner in which the zoning bylaw defines structures and lot coverage. This article was submitted by petition. Comments, board?
No.
Public?
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Evan, where does this apply to, townwide?
It would apply to any approved parking facility, essentially. So again, the way we define structure in the zoning bylaw is measured by the cross-section of any structure. So it would be the entire area of the panel itself. So today, you could develop a solar, like a carport, because it's considered a roof-mounted panel on a structure. But if you have a building with a large parking lot, and that building takes up your maximum lot coverage, or 18%, then you only get 2% remaining of the lot area to put any additional structures on. So it's a little limiting in terms of the ability to utilize carports and parking areas for solar. So it's saying in approved parking areas, only in the parking lots, you can exceed 20%, the lot coverage maximum of the applicable zoning district for that specific
For that
use.
specific purpose.
So this would be town-wide relative to essentially commercial and industrial projects with parking areas.
So it doesn't allow parking lots to be any bigger?
No,
Okay,
it has to be within the approved parking area.
I get it.
Public comment on this one?
Good one.
No. Motion to recommend?
I make a motion to recommend town meeting approve this warrant article.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Oh, we're cruising. To amend 174-3 terms defined. This article would define terms that are used in the new proposed Solar Energy Systems Overlay District. The proposed definitions are consistent with the definitions recommended by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for solar energy systems. This article was submitted by petition. Board comments.
Yeah, I need this explained to me why this is in here.
So again, if it's okay, John.
Please.
These are pretty much housekeeping articles
Yeah.
for the Solar Energy Systems Overlay District proposal. Like, we've done a couple overlays, and you see them in this bylaw today. we have multiple sections of the zoning bylaw itself, and one of them is like the enumeration of zoning districts, which has to be on a map. It also has to be enumerated in text form within the zoning bylaw itself. We have a definition section. We have a use table where the use is allowed and the various zoning districts are allowed, and we have land space requirements where the dimensional criteria is defined. So the special provision, the meat, as we said, for the overlay district, utilizes a number of definitions that aren't currently defined in the zoning bylaw, which is why it would be necessary to amend 174.3 terms defined to be inclusive of the terminology utilized in the overlay. As, for the purposes of review, we need to maintain some consistency. So you can't just amend, create a new special provision without amending, a series of other sections of the zoning bylaw so that they communicate and are functional. So similar to terms defined, the rest of these articles that the board hasn't contemplated yet tonight are to make the bylaw functional within the existing format of the zoning bylaw. So I can touch on the others as we go, but the zoning bylaw right now is silent on essentially solar energy systems and adequate definitions. So this is, again, the similar article that was presented with the board a couple of years ago, and is the state recommended definitions to be included in your zoning bylaw if you're contemplating a larger use of solar energy systems.
Right, I understand.
So these definitions are not in the
Correct.
zoning bylaw? We had submitted them before, and they never made it.
That's right.
That's why they look familiar?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think there's any harm in adding definitions.
Public comment on this one?
Protect us.
No, okay.
So,
Motion
yeah,
to
Sorry,
approve, go
John,
ahead.
but just to Mary's final comment, approving definitions does not approve a use.
Right.
Right, I don't think there's any,
No,
It
Any-
approves the ability to define
It's just,
and
yeah.
explain what.
once you move
yeah,
forward.
Got it.
yeah.
So,
right.
All right, motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
did you go to
Second.
public comment on that one?
Oh,
I did.
we did earlier.
Sorry.
You can ask again. Still no. Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. To amend 174-4 enumeration of districts, this article would create a new solar energy systems overlay district. The zoning bylaw and Town of Mashpee zoning must clearly delineate all zoning districts and zoning overlay districts, which this article would. The article was submitted by petition. Board questions?
So again, this article is just, housekeeping administrative article to make a potential overlay district function. So in our zoning, all of our districts are enumerated in text form with, bounds and delineating the boundaries of the proposed overlay. So that's what this is doing.
Got it.
I think this is where I start to have a conflict with the vote that we took previously for the first one we took a vote on.
The back and forth vote.
The back and forth vote. This is where I'm starting to get like,
Public comment on this one? Okay, so the one we just approved basically allows us to describe the overlay district. This one allows you to define it.
other way
Wait.
around.
Other way, so yes, no, so again, 174.3, what you just voted to recommend, is
right.
just definitions that are
Right, so
included
it
in our
allows you to-
definition section. So when you discuss, what a nameplate capacity
know
is
what
of a
that
solar
means.
panel, it's codified in the zoning.
Correct.
This article is the enumeration of districts. I want to refer to the article as I look at it, but essentially in the town of Mashpee has to define in a text form how its districts play out on the ground. We also have a zoning map, and they have to be consistent with each other.
Right.
So you'll see the next article is relative to the map itself.
Got it. Motion.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Just for clarification, all of these related petition warrant items, they're submitted by petition. I would assume that the same petitioners have signed all these petitions. Is that correct, or are there are the same 10 minimum petitioners signing all of these warrant items?
I can't state with certainty, Rob, but I would assume so.
I would think so. Okay, thank you.
Just with regard to the enumeration of districts, this is really just the section of the bylaw that says we would have a solar energy overlay systems overlay district. But what I do want to state for the remaining housekeeping articles, because the terms defined definitions is relatively harmless. But if, you know, it wouldn't make sense to if you're going to recommend the creation of the Solar Energy Systems Overlay District, you really need these other zoning articles also in the bylaw.
Right.
It wouldn't function without them. So like the establishment of the zoning map, for example, you shouldn't create, or if town meeting were to not approve the overlay district, but approve the establishment of the zoning map, you'd have no criteria with which to scrutinize this new solar energy systems overlay district.
Right.
So it would make sense to be consistent for these remaining articles in terms of how you vote.
So vote to approve?
Well,
Oh,
I'm not making
public
any
comment.
recommendation to you with regard to how you vote, but I just wanted to note that the overlay district, if it's created, needs these articles. If you're not going to recommend it, I wouldn't recommend these either.
Understood. Public comment on this one? Okay, vote to approve.
You're on 174-4, enumeration
Thank you,
of districts.
174-4.
I vote to approve 174
Vote to recommend approval.
Recommend, sorry,
approval.
recommend.
Right, sorry.
approval. Pardon me.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 No,
Okay.
right?
You're really messing me up when you're going me in there.
Because we're supposed,
To amend 174-5, establishment of zoning map by adding 174-5H. This article would establish the bounds of the proposed solar energy systems overlay district within the zoning bylaw. Only the parcels identified in this proposed new section would permit medium and large-scale solar energy systems. This article was submitted by petition.
So again, same comment applies
Right.
to the previous article. The bounds of the district is what it would enable us to adequately modify our zoning map, which would need to be printed and signed by the board,
Got it.
So
if the district's
yeah,
approved.
so because I voted no before, I'm gonna vote no on this one.
Right.
To be consistent.
That's what I was recommending, yeah.
So- Motion to recommend.
Oh, wait, public comment.
Public comment on this one. Motion to recommend.
All right, so we don't get confused. I will motion to recommend 174-5.
To be approved by town
Town.
meeting.
Yeah.
So
Do we have
I'm
a-
gonna second it, but then I'm gonna vote no.
Just so my mind doesn't get
All in
messed up.
favor?
No.
Yes.
Yes,
No.
got it. See? Keep doing it that way, my mind doesn't get screwed up.
We're almost there, folks. To amend 174-25H12 of the Mashpee zoning bylaw. Currently, medium and large-scale solar energy systems are allowed within the industrial zoning districts by plan review. This article would enable the development of medium and large-scale solar energy systems within the area defined as the Solar Energy Systems Overlay District, proposed in another warrant article by amending the table of uses in the zoning bylaw accordingly. This article was submitted by petition.
So again, we need to modify multiple sections of the bylaw. The table of uses is where, you know, the uses are defined and how their permitting process would undertake for the use. Currently, in the C2 and R5 zoning districts, the use is not permitted. So if you're going to have an overlay district that encompasses the R5 and the C2, you need to alter the use table by making, as defined in the overlay district, a use allowed by special permit. So you need to put in that section the letters SP in the appropriate columns of the use table. So that's all that this does, is say, if you're going to approve the overlay district, for this use in the C2 and the R5 districts, it is allowed only by special permit pursuant to the new section 174-45.7.
Got it. Motion to recommend. Public comment, I'm sorry. No?
I'll make a motion to recommend 174-45 to bring to town meeting. Recommend.
That town meeting recommends.
Yes,
Yeah,
recommend.
that we recommend passage by
Yes.
town meeting. Okay, so I'm gonna second it, but I'm gonna vote no again.
All in favor?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Got it.
So, and just, John, before you entertain a motion to close the public hearing, with regard to the motion made and voted on for section 174-4, the enumeration of districts where it was a 3-to-1 to approve, I don't know if the board can, wants to consider modifying the vote, but Dennis, I just wanted to make clear that because just the manner with which you voted on the other articles, the vote yes to establish a zone, to recommend the establishment of a zoning district that you've also recommended to not approve to town meeting is a little bit confusing. So for the purposes of consistency, I wondered if the board might want to entertain a discussion relative to reconsidering that vote. Does that make sense?
Who made the motion?
That one.
Joe did. So this was for enumerating the district.
174-4.
174
I was confused on that one, to be honest.
I understood. That's all. I just,
If you wanna make
I
sure you
wanted
have
to
the
note
right
it
vote.
before the public hearing closed.
I would have voted no. I was confused.
I understood that completely.
So did Joe Callahan make that motion?
I didn't hear what the number was.
174-4.
Yeah, I was confused.
That was made by Joe.
Okay.
Okay.
Seconded by Mary.
Are you
So-
okay to,
We can just amend this vote, whatever.
how do we do that? Do you want to
Yes,
rescind that
sir.
vote and then do it again?
Yes.
He has to
Okay.
amend his motion.
So you have to rescind, make a motion to rescind that motion regarding,
No.
I make a motion to rescind my motion on
Second,
174-4.
regarding enumerating the districts.
Regarding enumerating the districts, thanks.
So I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now you have to make a motion.
Now you have to make the motion again.
All right, I make a motion to recommend 174-4 for enumerating the districts.
To town
To
meeting.
Be
town
approved by
meeting.
town meeting. And so, again, I just wanted, it's, the recommendation to retake the vote was for consistency for town meeting.
I second,
All in favor?
no.
Yes.
Yes.
no.
All right, we're all on page. Good.
I knew I did something wrong.
I got your back, Dennis.
Okay,
Everyone's vote is heard.
do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Don't we have one more?
No, we
No.
gotta get
That was it.
We didn't vote on this?
You did.
Oh, okay.
2-2.
You were
Make
sleeping
a
now.
motion, we close the public hearing?
That's what I,
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
A little clunky, but well done, everybody.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys. Okay, new business. First item, review open meeting law complaints filed against the planning board on July 21st and September 24th by Meredith Kilpatrick, and discuss the board's response. I believe
in
it's...
order to review them, Mr. Chairman, can you just summarize them for us?
Yes, there
Thank
was a, let me find them first.
I'm not sure if they're in your book, John.
Oh, I thought they were in here.
They may.
I
We
thought I saw
forgot to put
something
them
when I
all
was
in there.
flipping through.
So here's the September one.
I got the September one.
Yeah, it's here.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think the September one is in the bond book.
This is September. It's not in the bound book, it's loosely.
Yeah, we noticed the binding error this morning, and
Okay, the gist of the complaint was the inability to provide public comment. Open meeting complaint was filed against Town of Mashpee Planning Board Chairman John Falone for discouraging, limiting, and omitting the opportunity for public discussion.
And that's the one that's dated
July
July
21st.
and June 30th. Okay, so I'm looking at this little box.
So July 21st.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we should have discussed it,
Okay.
sent a response within 14 days, and we didn't.
And that was in your next letter.
Can we take
Correct.
both complaints at once?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
because the second complaint is because we didn't respond to the first one.
complaint, yeah.
And that's the one, is that your review of the one dated September 24th?
Yes.
Okay. So I feel like we've reviewed them. Does everybody agree? Sorry, John.
No.
Sorry.
I don't want to lead the discussion, please.
Who's the vice chair?
He's in
Jack.
Barbados.
Oh, he's in Barbados.
Let's call him Barbados, I'd love to FaceTime him.
He could have remoted in.
Yeah, we'll scold him later.
So, the first page of the complaint is instructions from the Attorney General's office.
Correct.
Yes, it is.
And so, the instructions for us, the public body, the chair must disseminate the complaint to the members of the public body. So that's what happens. right?
Yep.
Today. The public body must meet and review this complaint within 14 business days. We hit that on one complaint, but not another,
Correct.
right? So we didn't hit it for the one from July and June, but we did for the one in September.
Correct.
Human, as they say.
After review, but within 14 days, the public body must respond to the complaint in writing, must send the complainant a response and a description of any action the public body has taken to address it. At the same time, the body, that's us, the planning board, must send the Attorney General a copy of the response. This is the interesting sentence for me. The public body may delegate this responsibility to its counsel or a staff member, but only after it has reviewed the complaint. And then I'll just read the last bullet point just because, to clear it up. If a public body requires more time to review the complaint and respond, it may request an extension of time for good cause by contacting the Division of Open Government. So I think because things are getting a little complicated, that I would recommend to delegate the responsibility to respond to the complaint to town council.
Do we have a second?
Second. That's
Okay,
a
so
good
I'll
gotta
make
make a
that a motion.
Okay. Second? We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
idea.
Aye.
Aye.
That's a good attitude.
All right.
Now, is that something that staff can do for us, to
It is.
get it to town council?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
And I just wanted to note, I just wanted to thank staff for getting us the open meeting law guide and educational materials, which are online at the Attorney General's office.
and
Thank
if you're interested, I would draw your attention to page 17, which talks about public participation, which was
Okay.
what the complaint was about.
And then, don't we do training every year on this?
You do. I think it's a requirement, yes.
Okay.
I know I do it.
Yeah, that's
There
part
is-
of the
There is
ethics.
an online webinar
part of
workshop
it.
that you
Thank
can,
you.
and it's accompanied by a quiz.
Yes.
And you can take it voluntarily at any time.
As part of the ethics one that we do record, yeah.
And is that on the Attorney General's website?
I don't know exactly the location
Can
of
you-
it, but I can follow up with the board
Can you
in an
Please.
email.
Send us the
With a
email.
link.
All right.
It's on Masco somewhere, that's where I do it.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
review submitted road taking plans and vote on a recommendation to town meeting to accept the layouts.
So there are two plans for you guys to make recommendations on for town meeting. You don't have any Mylars to sign tonight. That doesn't happen until after the order of taking, assuming town meeting accept the layout. So what we're looking at is that the submitted road taking plans are consistent with the town's road taking policies. So what I'm looking for when I review these are the title block is adequate and consistent with the town's policy, that all easements and drainage structures are shown on the roadway plans, et cetera. You can see that the drainage structures are shown, the appropriate contours are on there, the title block is as it should be pursuant to the road taking policies of the Board of Selectmen, as recommended by the Planning Board. Pretty straightforward recommendation. If there are any questions, let me know.
So how would so it's Oldham Circle?
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna let everybody,
So Oldham Circle, and then a plan with Ash, Devon, Cedar, and
it looks
Gina's
like
Way.
this.
Right.
Yep.
They filled out.
On the
Nope.
wrong one. That's the wrong one.
There you go.
Oh, no, it's the wrong section. All right, I'll just, thank you.
I'm gonna share.
Perfect, that's
Can we
very
do
nice of you.
Oldham Circle first?
Thank you.
Oldham Circle, just for you guys' edification, this was a delay by the petitioners to get it to get the engineering done, because you'll note on the plan a number of the timber edging, retaining walls, et cetera, that were of concern to the DPW. So it's my understanding that those issues with regard to the retaining walls, et cetera, have been rectified and adequate security put in place. So I am comfortable recommending to the board for the town to accept the layouts pursuant to those issues being rectified by the DPW.
Okay. Discussion?
You're gonna have to make a suggested motion.
Yeah.
That was a lot in there. So you're recommending that we
The submitted road-taking plans are consistent as to form to the town's adopted policy on road-taking plans. So my recommendation is to have the planning board recommend acceptance of the
Got it.
layouts of Ash, Devon, Cedar, and Hawthorne Street, or excuse me, Ash, Devon, Cedar, Gina's Way, and also of Oldham Circle.
Okay.
All right,
I found it.
Who wants to make the motion?
can I just look at these?
Yes. And the streets, you can see the title block, so I might be.
Seashells by the seashore.
Yeah, you said it.
Oh my God, I shouldn't sit next to you, you're dangerous. And these are both done by Matt Costa.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so we need a motion.
Motion to make a recommendation to
Right.
accept the layouts.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Hey, wouldn't it be nice if we had the engineer here?
It would. I submitted my budget to be inclusive of fees for that purpose, but because we modified our fee schedule, we don't have fees in our budget to pay for the review. But we do have a town engineer who works for the town now, so that could, but I did submit for funds for that purpose in FY '23.
Thank you. I
Okay,
noticed that happened, I was like, oh my God, all right, good.
do we have to make a motion on the other one? Or are we good?
It was included.
Okay,
Altogether.
Yeah,
great.
I wanted to do it by map, but he just did it all.
Ran it right through.
Okay,
That's
next,
fine.
review and sign draft decision for the South Cape Village special permit modification approved on September 14th, 2021.
So
And that is in your book,
I'm not sitting on this.
right?
This is a continuation, I'm not sitting on.
So Rob, you're on this one.
And again, all we're doing tonight is executing the first stage of the decision. So after we sign this decision, it's filed with the clerk, and the 20-day appeal period pursuant to the zoning act commences, at which time, when the appeal period closes, assuming there are no appeals, it'll come back to the board for all of the signatures of the voting members. So
Oh,
tonight, I
okay.
only need one signature
Okay.
to effectuate that regulatory process.
I gotcha.
Assuming, and again, I provided you guys the draft, I have a final copy here. It should be inclusive of all of the conditions and findings of the modification. If there is any recommended changes, now is the time so that I can make the appropriate edits before filing with the clerk. But I do have a completed copy here. But if there are no suggested changes, there's no motion necessary either. I just want to make sure that it's open to comment. But before you sign it, just make sure the board's good with it.
Did the project proponent see it?
Yes.
Thank you.
And just before you do sign it, I want to note to the board that I did receive the updated sheets from the applicant's engineer, and the revision dates are noted in the decision.
Oh, good, okay. Everybody cool with this?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And Willow Bend requests a minor special permit modification to allow the use of an already constructed shared driveway to serve 3 homes on Teal Circle.
Good evening. For the record, Jack McElhenney, counsel for Southworth Mashpee Properties, the developer at Willow Bend. Scott Miller from Newbridge Construction
Hey.
is here this evening. He is a partner in these 2 lots. So tonight we're seeking a minor modification of our special permit to allow the continued use of a common driveway that serves 3 lots within
Got it.
the Shoestring Bay neighborhood at Willow Bend, which is at the very southern end of Willow Bend, down towards the marina and Simon's Narrows Road at that end. And as mentioned in the notice, this common driveway has been in existence for over 20 years. It's been serving one of the 3 houses, 12 Teal Circle for well over a decade. And the issue came to light when Scott and his partner applied for a building permit, and, you know, in fact, it doesn't look like a special permit for the actual use of the common driveway was ever done, even though these roadway layouts, drainage, et cetera, had been reviewed by the planning board and the town engineer back in 1999, when this area was constructed. Couple of just quick observations. So there's 3 lots. One has got a house on it. It's had a house on it for the better part of 15 to 20 years. The other 2 lots are vacant, and those are the ones that Scott and his partner have under agreement. And both of those lots have adequate frontage already on Simon's Narrows Road. There's a fence there, but this is not the usual situation where you need a common driveway because the frontage is over a cliff or across a wetland that it's not usable. This is largely a matter of convenience and to have the traffic and use of those homes serviced within Willow Bend. So that's, I think, a little bit of background. As I mentioned before in the cover letter, the entire Shoestring Bay subdivision was acquired by the prior Willow Bend developer in 1998. It was originally approved as a standard subdivision. All of the lots, all 30, I think there were 36 lots of that, were to be served by septic systems. Willow Bend, the prior developer, acquired the entire subdivision en masse, and as part of that, they installed sewer lines to our own plant, which was a big win for everyone. So all that sewerage that would have been on the shore there is now being treated at our plant. And that was in 1998. The planning board at that point granted a special permit modification for that. I think Dennis probably was sitting on that at the time. And as part of that, Charlie Rowley, weighed in, reviewed the plans, et cetera. And we have copies of those plans. This common easement was shown at that time. There's a, and we have a 1998 recorded plan at the Registry of Deeds, which enables this cross easement between these lots, and it shows the driveway in place. So we know it was in place at that time. And, my strong suspicion after talking with Evan and going back to when this requirement came into play, my strong suspicion is this was simply an oversight at the time and was not specifically requested as part of that. So we are here tonight requesting it to bless this this use, which has basically been in place since the early 90s. And Evan did share with us a comment from the fire department that they would like to look at this. Again, it's been serving an existing home for 15 years, so it's 14 feet in width. It's about 150 feet long. It is paved. There's gravel beneath it, we believe, but we're happy to have the fire department come out and do that. We would request, if the board considers that it be a condition of the issuance of an occupancy permit, because we would like to get going on the lot. And as I said, legally, we don't need this frontage to have a buildable lot, but it's been raised by the building department, and we'd like to get it cleaned up.
It's going to be 150 feet long?
Yes.
Is it going to be a turnaround for the fire trucks?
It doesn't have a turnaround. It's just a straight shot. There's a fire hydrant already there, so my assumption is it was looked at the time, but the standards were probably different. But again, it's in very close proximity to the Teal Circle, so, and these houses are going to be constructed very close to that common driveway. They're like 50 feet off of it. So, you know, at most, you're 150 feet or so away from an existing public way. So, but we'll be happy to
So the
review
fire
it with
department's
the
gonna
fire
look at
department.
this first?
Whether it's a minor
I'm
Yeah,
sorry?
you see the note from Jack?
Wait,
You know from Jack?
so, Mr. Chairman, I think we have to vote whether it's a minor modification or
Correct.
not. Okay. So I make a motion to consider this a minor modification with no need for any additional public noticing.
Public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Right?
Yeah, I did.
So do we have like a map in our packet?
You should, yeah.
Is it
Yeah,
in
it's-
this
I lost it.
staples?
It's-
Is it in this
Yeah, you can
staples
put it this way.
packet?
And just,
Okay.
Dennis, while you were reading, there was a motion by Mary to make a finding that this is indeed a minor modification without additional public notice, and Mary, Joe, and John voted yes, but you have not yet voted.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So, what lots are you, I've got this,
Yeah, the two lots shown on that, and then Lot
30
12, Teal Circle, which would be, you know, immediately to the north of those two lots. If I-
so lot 37, 38, and
37 and 38 are the two, and Lot 19
and
is
19.
is the one that's already constructed a home there, and it's already using that for a driveway.
Oh my God, right, so how do you get from Teal Circle to lot 37 and 38?
The easement here.
There's an easement area there, which is what we're discussing. That easement was created in 1999 or 2000. That's shown on all the old plans. The issue simply is the planning board never specifically approved it as a common driveway,
Okay,
even though that was clearly the intent, and that was an omission on the developer, our part, I think.
so that's not the piece, is that the piece that's 150 feet?
Yes, this whole sort of spur, if you look at, starting at Teal Circle,
Okay.
going across 38 and ending on 37, that's a total of 150 feet roughly from Teal Circle, you know, to the end of that drive.
Okay,
John, can I make a comment?
please.
Just, I want to, relative to Jack's comments, I think the board could vote to potentially approve the use of the shared driveway, but the comment that Jack makes with regard to the driveway being in compliance with 174-32, the fire protection bylaw, is a zoning-related matter, so compliance with that bylaw is going to be a requirement for the building
Yes.
permit itself, so I don't think you need a condition on a C of O, because you're going to need to satisfy that requirement anyway for the building permit.
Correct,
So
and as
I think what Jack's primary concern is, with the length of the shared driveway being 150 feet, 174-32, and I don't have the bylaw in front of me, so I'm paraphrasing a little bit, is that the furthest, a structure that is, I think, 200 feet or more from the nearest roadway needs to be compliant with 174-32, meaning it can support fire apparatus.
Got it.
So if these houses are in, 200 feet plus from Teal Circle,
Yep.
they would need to be conforming with 174-32. So I think that's a requirement of the zoning anyway, Jack. I
And
don't
that's-
think the
I
board can
agree.
condition it on a C of O. I think you can approve the use, but you'll need to demonstrate compliance with that bylaw, which is
Yes.
why Jack makes the recommendation that the, either Ed Pesci or the town engineer, maybe you can make it conditional upon an inspection by Ed Pesci, at the expense of the applicant to certify that the surface of the driveway itself can sustain the fire apparatus and is compliant with 174-32.
Okay.
And of course, we're going to be using this for the construction access, so there's going to be heavy equipment going over it. It's possible, it's going to need to be repaired at the end of that, or so. I think it makes perfect sense to meet with the fire department.
Right. So we need a motion.
So on that, before I, the applicant requests a waiver of Ed Pesci's fees for inspection. You can either grant it and request that the applicant pay for the inspection external of those fees, or you can not grant the waiver, and I hold the check in escrow, and we pay Ed pursuant to his findings. It is, so I mean, that's just your options.
Who pays for Ed?
The applicant.
So why would we give the check back?
Well, it's held in escrow, so any funds that are not utilized by the town are returned to the applicant upon the completion of the project.
So you're saying waive any funds that Ed doesn't use?
Well, no, so I'm saying either grant the waiver and apply a specific condition just relative to the cost of one inspection for the surface, instead of having the applicant give the town $5,000 for the review, or you don't waive it and we get the check and we pay Ed pursuant to the appropriate inspection, and the balance of the money goes back to Willowbend.
All right, so I think we should waive
Right.
all but the actual expenses we incur
Correct.
to have the planning board engineer
Definitely.
work with the applicant and inspect the site.
Good.
All right, we all agree. If you want to put that in words for the motion, go right
That's a
ahead.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All set?
Yeah.
Great.
So that's the fee.
Yeah.
Now about the minor modification for the special permit.
Yes.
On a roll, Mary, keep going.
All right, so I make a motion that we approve this modification to the special permit on the condition that the proposed driveway from Teal to lots 1937 and 38 are in compliance with the Mashpee zoning law, section 174-32. Anything else?
Do we want to memorialize the required inspection of the existing surface by the board's consulting engineer?
Yes.
So moved. Did you catch that? Okay. And that's agreeable to the applicant?
Yes, yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Very
I
good.
think we got through it.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll need to draft a decision, and I'll bring it back to you guys. And Jack, I will
So nice.
connect with you and the consulting engineer tomorrow. I'll be out of the office at the end of the week, but I'll try to do that in the morning to coordinate that so we can do it really quickly.
Okay, that'd be great.
Half my bed.
I know it. Okay. Chairman's report, I don't have one. Town planner report, LCP update. Town planner.
Yes, we have a consultant.
Hey.
The contracts were finally executed to completion this morning.
Okay.
So I will be coordinating a series of, kickoff meetings with the consultant, and there'll be a lot more information to come, but the procurement is done, and we'll be getting started hopefully in the next month, 2 months on the LCP update and the visioning work, so
Excellent.
that's exciting.
That is exciting.
What is my other update? Consultant procurement relative to Mashpee Commons. The RFQs were drafted, vetted by council, and they've been disseminated to, all firms that are in the marketplace. I've given them a month to respond, so hopefully in a month's time or less, we will have proposals relative to the TIAS that we have contemplated and the environmental impact study.
Great.
So
Questions?
did Weston and Sampson get the RFQ?
I haven't provided to them yet.
Yeah, I would, just to see. I mean, they're our consultant for the LCP. They might be interested in
That's actually a very good point.
Yeah.
snagging that.
Yeah, why not?
So yes, that's underway, and I think the end of the first week of November is when we've asked for bids to be in.
Good.
Or quotes to be in.
Thank you.
And the last thing I wanted to just remind, we've had this conversation numerous times. I was hoping more people would be here, but
The diehards back there. Here we go.
I've had a number of, really great conversations with folks who've been participating in the Mashpee Commons conversation in the past couple weeks. Really focused on housing and discussing strategies for housing. And I've recognized a lot of like, well, we could do this, or we could do that, or we could do something else. And I just wanted to, I've always kind of stated or asserted that I don't think with the housing issues, a one-size-fits-all approach or a one strategy is the best way to go. And I just wanted to remind us, the folks participating, of the Affordable Housing Plan, Production Plan, and the policies and goals defined in that plan back in 2015, before I got here. And the strategies contained therein are inclusive of a number of strategies. So not just pursuing, friendly 40B projects, not just pursuing, town-sponsored projects, but also considerations of modifications to our zoning bylaw, including expanding mixed-use development in our commercial areas. So these are the only point is, there were some questions with regard to my recommendations following my build-out memo, and I just want to, restate that these aren't novel ideas, and these are, recommendations that come from planning processes that the town has already adopted, and we're building on those. So that was kind of just a reminder.
Yep.
So give us the link or something,
Will do.
and maybe you should put it on the, either the planning board or the planning department website.
It is on the
As
website.
new,
I'm sorry, what are you asking for?
the housing production plan.
Oh, yeah,
I just want to remind
we
us of
have
all
it?
the goals contained within
Well,
that
if he
plan.
I thought it
sends
was
it
in a
to-
package. I thought we got it.
May-
So it
well,
should be in-
it's not the first time we've discussed this, but I
Yeah.
just thought it was a good opportunity, good time to, remind ourselves of the planning work that was contained in that document.
Yep, thank you.
That's due for update.
It's due for update. It was due in November, but
This November?
Yeah, we are going to pursue the update with grant monies, piggybacking off of our LCP update, and we're going to be seeking grant monies for, what is it, DLTA, Technical
Yep.
Assistance Funding from
Good
the
idea.
Commission in June.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So,
So it might not be updated until mid-2022 or after?
correct.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We had
Well,
started
the
doing.
census data hasn't even been released.
Well, that was,
so-
that was it. I mean, we started doing a light update, if you remember. I
Yeah.
started going through it with Alan Isbitz. And we were making too many assumptions about the data.
Okay.
Right,
And then we were due for an update in 2020, this past November, or 2021. Working in a series of assumptions about what the data may say, and also knowing that we were going to be going through a number of planning processes and the LCP update, and knowing that we would have to update it again once the census data
Census
actually came
data
out.
came out.
right.
It seemed like a duplication of efforts, so we decided to not do
Right.
a half-whack job.
Piecemeal, right.
And just focus on the plan update following the visioning work and when grant monies become available again in the upcoming summer, so, and when the census data is released.
Very
So
good.
that's where we are.
So can I make a suggestion about the HPP?
Yes.
It took the town of Yarmouth 4 months to procure because we kept putting requests for proposals out and then we brought it back down to an RF, like a request for price.
Yeah.
Right? And just the engineers and everybody are just super, super busy.
Yeah.
So you can procure before you get the award of the DLTA money, or is that right?
Yeah.
DLTA money?
District Local
You
Technical.
just put in the procurement paperwork that it's contingent on the town securing those funds.
Okay.
So you can actually pre-procure before you have the award from the Cape Cod Commission for those funds. And I would suggest you doing
Good
that, just because it took us so long to.
Sure.
Yeah.
So now, right, because we got the money, the award from the Cape Cod Commission in June, and you have to use it by December. You only have 6 months to use it, and now we still don't have the census data, so we're
Yeah.
hitting this deadline of December 31st. I don't know if we're gonna be able to spend the money. And we already have the contract.
That was the only reason I
Good,
wanted to
no,
put that on the
good
agenda. Just,
suggestion.
it's a good reminder. We're going to be updating it in short order, but
Right.
it's also very inclusive of a lot of the recommendations and policy recommendations I've made in the past.
Good.
So just building off
Yes.
of that plan.
Thank you. Okay, board member committee reports, Cape Cod Commission,
No update.
Community Preservation.
There were 2 warrant articles on the town meeting warrant. One is to put aside the 10% for the community preservation funds, and the other is for I think it's $420,000 for some additional work on a boat ramp.
Okay.
So
Design review,
Canceled yesterday, no meeting.
plan review.
No meeting.
Environmental Oversight Committee, there was no meeting. Historic District Commission,
We had a meeting,
come on.
and it lasted about 3 minutes, and I forgot what we, it was a.
It was a review of a certificate of appropriateness for the former Cape Cod Coffee Building for signage and a barrier fence essentially along the rear of their property.
Okay.
And they've indicated an intention for doing more substantial building modifications to rehab that building. And we expect them to be back to the commission in some time. We don't know when, but in some time. They've only indicated the intention.
And Jack isn't here for the
But
military.
I'm sure there was
school.
no meeting, no.
Yes, yes, speaking for Jack.
I'll speak for him in Barbados, no meeting.
All right, anything in the correspondence, Evan, you want to draw to our attention?
All very standard.
Okay, anybody else, additional topics?
I think it's Dennis's time.
Second.
Second.
I'm sorry, did you have another? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.